Saludos, 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 mundo, saludos. Iduwen Yugarifuna, amigos, compañeros. Estoy esperando que nosotros llenamos la charla aquí. Tío Gerson, ¿cómo está usted? Saludos. Villa Núñez, la carisma. Saludos a usted, Villa Núñez. Bill Flores, Regalizian, big up. What's going on, Bill? Today I have a guest. Comunicador garífuna, Jenny Martínez, saluda a usted. Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy. Tengo un invitado hoy de una asociación de derechos humanos canadiense. Ya lo voy a invitar. Ahorita mismo. Graham, si estás viéndome, me puede llamar o conectarse conmigo. Ya nos vamos a conectar. Paciencia, ni doing you all. Paciencia, tía. Ya nos vamos a conectar. We will connect shortly. Just waiting on Graham Russell to join us. James Lavelle, Bodoma, Pasteco. Greetings, James. Hope everyone is going well with you. Babalola, Kimeki. How you doing, Babalola? Sally Mason, how are you today? This thing in Honduras has me really, it's troubling. Lo que está pasando en Honduras ahorita me tiene mal. Bien, bien mal. Gina, my raw tan empress. ¿Cómo estás? Okay, ya vamos a conectar con el hermano Graham Russell. Todavía estoy esperando que más gente nos... Mangle, ne gunyot gute mangle. Ya te badume anu ya. Artistas Dindi, ¿cómo están, mano? Lisa J, how you doing? Okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. Clifton Lewis, Wagwan Brethren. Tevin, saludos. What I think about the election in Honduras, the election, I just don't understand how can Nasrallah win last Sunday and then lose on Thursday. I have a hard time dissecting that. It has a lot to do with other influences. A lot of it has to do with the economy in Honduras and all the different geopolitical forces that influence Honduras. But I'm gonna dive into that further with Grant Russell. He's part of this organization, this Canadian human rights organization. I'm just waiting for him to be added to add himself to the call. I'm looking for him. Graham, I don't see you for some reason. What's going on in Honduras is very troubling. Me molesta demasiado que está pasando en Honduras. Magnífica de León, saludos. How you doing? ¿Cómo está? Ida bien. Estelle Martin, how you doing? Desde San Burquín, ¿no está viendo? Saludos a San Burquín. Mi gente allá. Mi gente del apellido Guité. Oh yeah, that's right, Tev. I remember you relocated to Sabo Creek. I would like to know your input in regards to the political situation over there in Honduras as someone that relocated to Sambo Creek. Just want to get your take on it I believe you're from America, but you found Sambo Creek, our Garifuna community, as your home. I would love to hear your input of what's going on and the sense of the people over there too. As you can see, Tev, our community is peaceful. There's harmony, which is one of the reasons I know that you relocated over there. We don't really get involved in party politics because, for obvious reasons, I mean, the same thing here in the United States. Which party has ever done anything for African people here in the United States? That's the same thing that's going on in Honduras. We got the Democrats here that really don't do anything. In terms of resources for black people here. And this been going on for ages here. I mean, we had the civil rights movement in the 60s, which tried to bring more attention to that and see if anything would come out of fruition from that movement, but it took a different form. It's similar to what's going on in Honduras now. We had the liberals, los liberales, which allow Garifuna people into their party system, but it's not necessarily something that benefits us. I don't see any party in Honduras that has done anything of tangible substance to benefit the Garifuna community, and that's why I'm bothered why a lot of our brothers and sisters in Honduras are supporting these parties. Instead of going back to Garifuna Dua, which is basically us relying on each other. We need to go back to that. We need the Buyaba in every Garifuna city. The Buyaba Tev for you that don't know much about the culture, and you could go ahead and ask questions. The Buyaba is a spiritual temple for Garifuna people. Before we started embracing these religious practices or religions, we had the Buyaba, we had Garifuna Dua, which are cultural tenets that we adhere to as a community. But now, through migration, acculturation, we embrace these spiritual systems, these westernized spiritual systems, which are basically destroying us. Brother Dexter, how you doing, Brother Dexter? Salud, hermano, de San Vicente, Dexter Rose. Mucho gusto. Me saluda a su esposa, por favor. Yeah, Tev, when you ask around in Sambo Creek, I got to connect you with the brother Luis Garcia. He was part of um, he's part of the Patronato, which is basically the community board over there in each Garifuna community. They have what is called a Patronato, which is basically a community board. They're the ones that set the agenda for the community, whether everything that revolves our community, it goes to the Patronato. You have to ask for Luis Garcia. He's over there in Sambo Creek. He could give you more information about that. And I hope your Spanish is getting better too, because you're going to need that to communicate over there. Saludos, Sandra Colón. Conrado Garcia. Ni bugunya. Bugete. Yete kato. Chantel Garcia. How you doing, Chantel? Okay. Nani Barahona. Saludos. ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Y de niña? Gilma Green. Saludos, Gilma. Yo quiero que nosotros tengamos esta conversación. Jessica Gutierrez, ¿cómo está usted? Me preocupa nuestra situación como pueblo garífuna. Nos llaman, en la Constitución, nos llaman pueblos originarios, indígenas, afro-hondureños, y esos términos no son demasiado ambiguos, esos términos. I'm going to try to speak in Spanish and in English, and in Garifuna too. There's certain terms you can't really say in Garifuna, but I'm going to try my best. Napoleon, my African brother, how you doing? I saw those shoes that you had on the other day, Napoleon. I saw those. I like those. But yeah, Tev, let me go back to what's going on in Honduras. And I'm glad to know that you're going to go to Belize too. I hope you visit other Garifuna communities in Belize as well. We have 8 Garifuna communities in Belize. You're going to have a great time there, just like you are having a great time in Sambo Creek too. You're going to be close to Guatemala. We have 2 Garifuna communities there, to my knowledge. I've never visited, and I plan to go next year for the Garifuna settlement celebration. But if you're in Belize, you should stop by Guatemala too. La Buga Livingston is a Garifuna community, and Puerto Vallarta is a Garifuna community as well. Salforita Calix, ¿cómo está usted? So ahora estoy esperando mi compañero. Saludos, África, la África. Voy a tratar, hermana, hablar en español. Voy a tratar. Ahorita quiero invitar a mi compañero. Paciencia conmigo, compañeros. Gonna need you guys to be a little bit patient with me as I'm scrolling down my invite friends list and I don't see my guest for some reason. Just bear with me for a second. Saludos desde México, África, la África. Saludos a mi gente de Tamalupias, de Nuevo Laredo. Saludos a los compañeros allá. Saludos a usted, doña Gilma Green. María Vázquez, ¿cómo está usted? Puede compartir este enlace, compañeros, porque yo quiero que mucha gente vea esta entrevista y podemos dialogar más con ellos. I want you guys to share the link on your timeline so we can have the so we can continue this conversation because this is very, very important. What's going on in Central America right now is very important. I've seen some very disturbing images, and it really bothers me. Okay, I'm texting Graham back and forth. Estoy hablando con Graham ahorita. Él ya estaba haciendo algo y él se va a agregar la llamada al Facebook Live. Las cosas que yo veo en, en Honduras, la tenemos que poner un poquito de análisis. China Guiti, ni tu idahin. What should I say? What's poppin'? Incluir en la llamada. Yo sé, hermana. You speaking to the choir. I mean, it's brothers. Mafuna Simbe Woody Lawa. Elmo, DJ Elmo, saludos. Nikki, how's my Vinci Empress? Good to see you. Nota, la situación en Honduras tan críticas. Nikki, we're talking about the situation of our family back home, and I just needed to do a Facebook Live in addressing this issue. I'm gonna have a friend from a human rights organization talk with us. Yeah, I know. I grew the beard. The beard. I had to grow the beard. I just got tired of shaving. Yes, I Elmo. What's going on? Okay, I'm gonna see how I can add Graham. Okay, Miriam, la estoy invitando a usted. Miriam,
Hi, brother. Good
how you
evening.
doing? Good evening to you too. Good evening to you too.
I'm good. It was weird just now. I
Oh,
couldn't
really?
hear you. There was no audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just like to. I'm talking to a lot of different people in regards to this thing um, going on in Honduras and how it affects us as a community. I would just like to know your thoughts in regards to it.
Brother, as a community in Honduras, we have always been affected by everything that
Right.
happens there. When good things happen, it doesn't come our way. And when bad things happen, we always end up paying for it, like all the indigenous people in
Right.
Honduras do. Now, this silent coup d'etat is what I would describe that this is drug cartels showing their power once more again in our country. When this happened to Manuel Zelaya Rosales, um, a large population of the country was affected by it, meaning all the poor
Right.
people. And up to today, the only thing that they have done has been selling out the territory of the indigenous people
Yeah.
then in the country to big transnationals that have plans, you know, to dispose of our land and to kick us
Right.
out. So whatsoever is happening in Honduras is really, really bad because this same political party, about 7 years ago, no, about 6 years ago, they had signed a consensus with Canadians and Americans over the oil in
Right.
Honduras. Porfirio Lobo Sosa, which was the president back then, signed up the oil in Honduras, the beaches of Honduras, which is Garifuna territory, to Canadians and Americans for 350 years. Who in their right state of mind will give a licitation of 350 years to strangers to come into the country and to take whatsoever is left, because that is whatsoever is left. And it only exists in Honduras because it's the Garifuna people who love Mother
Right.
Earth, who love the planet Earth, are the people that are living on those beaches, because Spanish people wouldn't have left that on
Right.
the beach. It wouldn't be there.
What year?
So
What year this
if
happened
this
again?
political
What year this happened
party,
again?
this happened about six
Okay,
years
after the
ago
coup.
when Porfirio Lobo Sosa was still, yeah,
Okay.
after the coup, when Porfirio Lobo Sosa was the
Okay.
president. And then I bet you heard that his son is here, you know, in prison
Drug
for
trafficking.
drug
Right. I
trafficking.
did hear that.
And the brother of this actual president had an incident last year. His helicopter came up to have residues, a considerable amount of residues of cocaine. As it seems, the helicopter, the presidential helicopter, was used to move cocaine from point A to
Right.
point B. Now, a lady came out on the news. She was desperate because they have taken her husband. Her husband had relayed this information to her. So she made it public to save his life because he had disappeared. Now, whatsoever happened with that case, I didn't have any follow-up. I can't tell. But everybody know that the people in power are running drugs, and that whatsoever they had accused President Mel Zelaya of back then, which was drug trafficking, one
Right.
of the biggest case they had against him, um, and that they could so-called stop it, it never happened. It only became more intense. Crimes that were never seen before in Honduras starting to appear, like female
Yes.
decapitated on a beach, head over saw, body over saw.
Right.
Huh? Out of the Garifuna communities, they would come and they would randomly take somebody and kill, like they did to this young man whom they call Patacloch from Tornave. They had tortured and murdered from San Juan. They took about 2 females back then. They had raped and murdered these females. We are affected. We are affected when things like this happen. And I kind of in shock the way the Garifuna community is handling this matter, because we should be also out there accompanying the process of striking up to this government and telling them that we don't want them no more in power and that we want transparency in power. We have about 30 Garifuna ambassadors. 30 Garifuna ambassadors who have the title ambassadors of culture. When are they do nothing? We have Garifuna people like how fellow activist Vanessa say on her post this morning or yesterday. We got the diploma, the hang part wall. They don't have jobs. They don't have jobs. So right now the rich people then they cry. The same rich people were cut with veins and drained out with blood. Because these people, those shops that you see people went into and took stuff out of that is nothing to them. They have insurance, they could recover that. They recover that long time because they sell that 3-4 times the same price. When they say Honduras, that lie. That's not true. We are the people, the nation, who pay the most expensive for everything that we need. We pay the most expensive. Something like us. $10 the other states has $100 the Honduras, and we pay for it. So we are affected about it. We need transparency in our country.
Now,
we need transparency.
Now, I was talking to another brother yesterday in terms of like what we can do as a community, and I proposed to him that we do a boycott, an economic boycott, in regards to La Besa, the monies that we send over there. Do you think that would be an effective means to make a statement to these people? Because from my standpoint, our voice has not been heard, but there's a reason why it hasn't been heard. You know, we're pretty, I don't want to say passive people, but there has to be a point where we have to think more about our children in the future. And there is I'll try to keep it low. There's a time for us to really analyze where we stand on certain things. Do we want to be a part of this country, or do we want to be a separate nation? I mean, the two parties don't really favor us. The liberal nor the nationalistic. I mean, the nationalistic, they were the one that caused the San Juan massacre in 1937.
Yes.
As the brother told me yesterday, the Liberal Party, they like really tolerate us. They don't really want us in their party system. And they don't do anything to help us in terms of resources. So we're basically left by ourselves, just like here in America with the Black American community and the Democrats. So what I'm trying to invoke by having these talks is for us to work together, again, to change our situation.
Well, since about 2 years ago, when I started talking to this brother, Trevor Palacio, we have always emphasized that we have to unmark ourselves from the rest for us to be able to stop. Because Garifuna people, we have resources, but we are not exploiting those resources the way they need to be exploited. Same because of the passiveness of the Garifuna people. Garifuna people live a little bit too comfortable. The economical boycott would be a way of shaking up the community. Of shaking up the community, because if you do not know what your necessities are, you will never try to find an answer to your problems. You know what I mean? If they are constantly by the people who are working nasty hours and nasty jobs here in the United States, they will never stop. being, but they will never stop chill out like the Belizean people would say.
Right.
You know, they have an easy life. They have an easy life. They have to start make some sacrifices. And this generation right now, as I have always stated, I have spoken to those brothers in Garifuna Nation, and with prayers I could find one way to meet with other Garifunas. I have always pointed out the fact that if this generation does not do anything about this situation, it will never be done again. And this is right about now our last opportunity to do it. We need to stop the monster that is coming into our communities, because I don't know if you heard about this sec yeah, if you heard about the special sectors of economical development in Honduras. If you look on the map, if you put in model cities in Google and you look where they're trying to build these model cities, they're building them inside the Garifuna communities. And besides that, these are projects that are made for Germans, Canadians, Americans, uh, Japanese to come into our country. They will give them some territory, some Garifuna territory, so they could build their own cities there. And inside these cities, it will be their language and their currency and their laws that will abide. And that is a law that they have already, brought to Congress in Honduras. And if we don't shake up right now and do something and build something on those beaches in the way and the means to stop this monster, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we won't have a territory anymore. This is some serious matter. This is some serious matter, brother.
Yeah, that's what I see. I know that Ofraner won 2 cases, Punta Piedra and Triunfo de la Cruz. The
Yes.
Honduran government is not acknowledging those by the Organization of American
No.
States. What do you think we have to do to pressure them in order to acknowledge those cases?
You really want me to say that on live?
We have none of those.
Because mabui dubaitele lube na rionguni. Mabui dubaitele lube na rionguni, brother. Moso hamata tachigun wasum bisile doto abu nubo larube ya. Luwasaga raguni fenda nule lina ge wafula some right gwele. Oratiele. Because the government not going to do nothing against Fihi people there. You know who have houses in Triunfo de la Cruz? Porfirio Lobososa, Michelle Canaguati, Callejas, the one where they are for launder drug money with his bank. Herrera jail. That type of people got properties on Fui beaches. There not any poor man will come for anywhere come build them. No, sir. These are people with power who have always been part of the 12 families who are running the government of Honduras in Tegucigalpa.
Right.
So it would have to be a matter of force in the communities to remove these people off these properties.
Okay.
And you have to remove them because they leave people with guns guarding their houses. We would have to take away the guns from them people and put them out and tell them, look, you're going with your life because we don't want to kill you right now. But if you come back, you will dead.
Right.
You know? And we would have to close the doors of our community for any one of them to enter. We don't want to hear no negotiations with them, nothing. You know? But pacifically, the way how Garifunas handle things, it not going to happen. It no matter how much court they go.
So we need that hard hand to handle this issue, you think?
Yes, yes. And with the law in our hand, because We don't win the case already. So what? We don't care if the government don't want to acknowledge the case win. The case win. We don't win. If them people still in those territories, it's because the Garifuna people wants them there.
You're right, and I'm thinking about what you just commented. I mean, it goes. I juxtapose it in regards to what's going on here in America with the unarmed beings and what's going on to the people of color in terms of the aggression by the police. We, especially in Central America, we don't have the numbers for military response. Because the Honduran government, they have more numbers than us in terms of military. The last census that
Exactly.
I've noticed, we're about 100,000 throughout the 50 communities in Honduras. So are we going to have like a San Juan massacre back in 19... If we were to take that route, that's what we're dealing up against if we take the military route. So we have to take like other, I think we have to be other measures, and an economic boycott is one. And we really, really need to analyze and have these type of talks.
But brother, the economical boycott only going to hurt the Garifuna children that are in Honduras, the ones that we have to pay for go to school, the ones that we have to pay transport to get to school, the ones that we have to feed breakfast before they go to school. That only going to hurt the community, the Garifuna community. We don't have medicine in the hospital. We have to buy it. We got a lot of people in our community with diabetes and such other disease as HIV and whatnot. Then people have to travel out of town to make them go get their medicine. No, if we come up with an economical boycott, right? Are we ready for the collaterals?
That's what I'm saying. We have to like reorganize ourselves. I think the conversation, we need to get the patronatos involved. They need to be involved, and we have to create a sort of a buffer mechanism for what we need to do, and that's the economic boycott. I mean, that's one avenue that we could explore. Because to me, I mean, I was born in Honduras, in Nahuatl, and I came here when I was 6. I mean, I love visiting family over there, and I love being with my people. But in regards to labeling myself as a catracho, I can't honestly do that, because look at the oppression and the repression going on for other Honduran people that's not Garifuna, because the people that are protesting, they're the Latino population. You don't see a lot of Garifuna people protesting, because we're in our communities.
We would not take part in that either, because I wouldn't go risk my life. The Spanish people, and they always discriminated against the Garifuna population. So why would we care, you know? But yes, we need an honest government to be on that seat, because we might have better chances with an honest government. He might want to lend us the military to, you know, kick out the ones there where they take over land in our communities. You know, maybe our 30 ambassadors could go out and bring out the Garifuna culture around the world, you know, give them a better representation of the Garifuna people, because that the government has to pay them, you know. Maybe like we get to a hospital or a school in the communities them want to have. You know, those are the benefits of having a good government in the country. That was Mel Zelaya. That was Mel Zelaya. But you see, they couldn't stand the pressure when Mel Zelaya said, okay, the cost of the electrical energy too high. Why the electrical energy high? Because the gas where we need to make the turbine run high. Okay. And all the population, they pay for it. They pay the cost. All right. Make a check with the one where they import gas. Oh, you have a smooth amount to pay for your barrel. But when you reach here, you will pay 5 times the amount. I want you lower the gas so I could lower the electricity for the population. They say no. Oh, no say no? He got Venezuela and he got make one deal with Hugo Chavez. When they say that the man that communist, the man that never communist, the man gonna buy gas. When Hugo Chavez tell her, okay, I will give you gas for 4 years for the same price. For the same price. You know, going up 1 cent, and you know what else I want to do to help your population? I will send the electric bulb, low energy LED
Right.
light. I will send enough LED light for make you could go change all the bulbs in each everybody house the Honduras, and that happened. They got door to door, and that created jobs. That created a little bit of savings for the people that Honduras. All right. He got to the pharmaceuticals and he said, well, we have a problem. We don't have medicine in the hospital, and the medicine we want to sell we for a lower price. The medicine almost expire or don't expire. So what we have to do about it? Uno could provide we medicine at a cheaper cost. The man already had his experts look into it. They tell her no, they know I give her medicine at a cheaper cost. Oh, you know I give me medicine? All right. The man gone to Cuba and talk to Fidel.
Right.
Fidel tell her, yes, man.
Right.
I will give you medicine. I will sell you a medicine at a cheap price, and you know what else I will do for you? I will educate you
Right. And
doctors.
they have a lot of
Oh, they have
Garifuna
it.
doctors became
Yeah,
doctors by going to Cuba.
yeah. But why? But why they're not working at the hospitals? Because when they come back to Honduras, the same power will give them, give the president one coup d'etat, never one validate the studies for Cuba. Why? Because Cuba is a communist country, but they not have one citizen who left Cuba. We can't get one employment in the rest of the world. You know why? Because all of them come out of the professional. Kati wuri ba bay logo Cuba. What's wrong with Cuba?
Ladega mama Mabriga ni Venezuela. We know that the U.S. influenced Honduras, and Cuba and Venezuela are not part of the allies. It's like we're stuck in the middle. Away lida ke muga swamp halia bati wodi.
Well,
It's a difficult situation.
most
It's
of
a
what
very difficult situation, Charlie.
most wa dugu kay la dugu receipt, most wa sami na ru kay la sami na ru receipt la the receipt wa gien lilid. Most wa dugu kay ha dugu most wa chawa ha duna lidon warelu. Most wa dugu nile bay home Garinagu. The rest we can't worry about them because Miram said we bay lira ita ru bay her.
Hinaran. Liga nehu be ya huliligati. Ida buka você na subunicala hadaga be chumago hon gai na ruini huliligati. Me itina wisu hadaga chumago hon lo hamuga buidola haviando gai na me itina wisu e aí é muito partido liberal ou nacionalista garifu na ni hada logo musu logo senso logo ter senso.
Pero musu ti sa isu. Abati nengu kabage wagu na lugro nuwani lum mafia. Logo gadri rumo, logo sengu sa lempir. Sana dugu nilir. Lada sengu sa lempira. Musu ora badugu ni dale bichu ni budu te babu lugu bida lugu
Aí eu
hawidu.
fui lo de senga salempera ondo lu havia ando muito ondo lu te muka hadaga que muka 10,000 lempera lu havia ando build 10 mil.
Exactly.
So the problem is socio-economic, and we had it before in the past. We had that socio-economic element in the past in which we were self-sufficient, self-determinant. What do you think made us veer off of that?
Education. Education is the biggest enemy of the Garifuna culture. La diga le mama lide a chu da how, aba lide a bijo niga da how kole hiug. La diga le, I constructor a lube baru betidia. You already have BSs. You're going to school. You already start to learn how to build house. When you go to school, what they have that school? Bachillerato en ciencias médicas, hotelería y turismo. But when you already start, do that be one architect. Why you can't continue study to be one architect? Right. One of the biggest problem that is money. So everybody choose for study way cheaper for achieve. But they no got no job in that.
Okay.
They make silly choices at the moment when you have to make a better choice for what you're going to study and where you could possibly find one job in when you graduate, they are being misguided. When they reach the school, they already have options for them. Garifuna people live by the ocean. How many marine biologists we got? That's the free resource. That's the education what the government supposed to offer the Garifuna children.
Yeah, I mean,
With a farmer.
see, the thing is, this is
With a farmer.
this is what I think, Miriam. This is what I think. Like us, we have a lot of exceptional people in the community. I mean, people with here in America, we have people with masters, we have people with doctorate degrees, but somehow they disalign themselves with the community. You know, like hadugo wugun ya senso, mabusori ni hadume agaifu. Mabusote ni hadume habina hapunta. Mabusote ya habina paranda. Mabusote habina which we got to think about. We have to think about our cultural philosophy.
They inject that into their minds.
Exactly. They don't want to associate themselves with the culture anymore, and I think it's part of the acculturation process. And people don't want to align themselves with certain things once they reach a certain income level. We have to address that within our community first as well too, because that's a big issue. We can't.
And it's very hard.
Go ahead.
It's very hard to get in touch with them because this is not something what happened to them, you know, at school or during school. That is something that happened from home, my brother. How do you get there?
No, he not.
It's us, mother, doing that to our own children. No, yeah, have you my right? You know, my yeah, so we go home, Mama, Mabriga, I know to go about the app. No, I used to run your logo on the tablet. Make the land Garifuna. Mama te Mabriga, who go ya, the metal like a plabucha do logo Mabriga, if you no go da waraba metal like no hini hagero. Bachilo meti indura. Ida luba meti badumra hahama mutu menge to indura na English no ba meti honian. You have to inject that into your children's mind. You know? Who they are and where they're from. No way, I would na punta ya, I put things on YouTube, no hari hani history, even the haye nila wow. Bumate na subo dire haye nila wow.
Ibete te haye ni wogo. Ibete ya bude te wogo, wogo Garifuna. Na mulolo, dale nengo ho. Date na single san libro ya, no yo. Abuya logo Garifuna. We shoot te haye ni. We shoot haye ni. Let me make a brief pause. Let me say hi to some people that are watching. Luz Solis, how you doing? Luz Solis, how you doing? Brother Egbert, hermano Sabio, ¿cómo está usted? Regina from Chi-Town, Sammy, how you doing? Kimmy from Vinci. I mean, we have a lot of people that wants to chime into this conversation because this is a very important conversation. We have. I had the pleasure of going to St. Vincent in March. St. Vincent in March.
I was following.
And I was with the Chief Joseph Sachue, which is a cultural group here in New York, and we performed at various spots over there. And we toured the leeward and the windward side of the island. What struck to me is how the condition that the Garifuna people lived on the island, which is basically mirrored to us in Honduras. The same thing, very underdeveloped. There's like some tension going on with the people over there and how they view it. I mean, it was a very special experience for me. I've never seen anything like it, but I definitely felt the tension. But that's going away from my point. We were millionaires in St. Vincent through manioc and the sale of tobacco. We used to sell them to the French from Martinique and all the other islands that the French dominated. When we were exiled to Honduras, we would go to Belize to cut mahogany. They made sure that we were in the southern part of the Belize because they didn't want the escaped well, not escape, but the captive chattel slave system to for us to interrupt that. What was going on in Belize. And I say that to say this. I think one of the reasons that we have self-esteem issues in Central America, I see it in Honduras too, is that we don't have a lot of data regarding our history. Because if we have that and we use that and along with the cultural philosophy, we can stand out to these folks that we can't take certain actions because it goes against our folks' cultural philosophy.
Okay. You know that there is a law in Honduras that says that all indigenous groups in their own indigenous territory have to be taught at their schools in their
Right.
language.
Are they enforcing that?
They have the Tornave, they must have about 2 teachers. The last time I knew the principal was a Garifuna. She's already living now in Houston. She left
Right.
Honduras. And there were 2 other Garifuna teachers. Now that is a law. It's not the government who is going to go there into our communities and enforce
Right.
that. Most
Right.
So once we have our teachers in place, and thanks to Ofraneto, that was a big pusher of this law for the indigenous people, them. Once we have that in place, all we have to do, that bringing for we people them like you, Mr. Pablo, we got the knowledge,
Right.
you know, for impart one class. Because we have to start teaching our children that they don't know Indio Lempira picnic. We don't have to be out there underneath no sun hat 15th of September.
Right. That history.
That have absolute nothing.
Exactly. That's not part of our
Exactly.
history. It's not part of our history. It's not part of
It's
our
not.
experience. When I was having a conversation with the brother yesterday, there was another brother that said that we should, just like the way the Native Americans do here, they're part of this country, but they have their nation. They have a nation within the nation. And I think that should be something that we could look into as a community in Honduras and have the United
Exactly.
Nations
And
back it
we
up.
are ready.
And I think that's
And a very peculiar one. That is why the job where Garifuna Nation is doing is very
right.
important. I've been telling my brothers, don't stop. And you cannot fail the Garifuna Nation with this mission. Because the mission of bringing this to the international community as a nation that
Right.
we are, people from St. Vincent, from Nicaragua, and whatnot, other countries where Garifunas live, are still
Right.
Garifunas, no matter
Right.
where.
I always
So we are a
We are,
nation.
but what do you think needs to happen for all these countries to come as one and go to the United Nations together? I mean, do we have to draft a
We
constitution? I mean, what do you think are the steps that need
we
to be
need
taken?
a constitution. We need a constitution. We need a
Right.
government. We need a
Right.
government. We need to be identified as who we are. Because I know thousands of Garifuna, when they go sign their name, they put that Afro descendant or that Latino American.
Right.
I draw for a little line the bottom and I put Garifuna underneath because that is what I am. So we need to, for start, we need to start identifying ourselves as who we are.
So, so
Humble
you're saying we
beginnings.
identify ourselves too much with the nation where we are from, but not with the culture that we actually are. Now, if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken, you're from Belize, right? Your family's
Exactly.
from Belize?
I born in
Okay.
Belize, but my family is from Honduras. So I lived in Belize till I was about 8, 9 years old. And then I came to Honduras with my grandparents, because my mother has, come to the United States, and my father was already here. Well, he's a guy I never even met. The guy was here during all my life, and he came back dead. So I never got buried on either.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's a common
So
experience for a lot of us.
yeah, I'm in love. I'm in love with both Belize and Honduras.
Okay.
You know, because my parents are Honduranian, and I live a large part of my life with the Garifuna community in Honduras. I am well known in
Right.
Honduras as I am well known in Belize.
Now, we have 80 communities, Garifuna communities in Honduras, if I'm not mistaken. The 50 in Honduras, 50 plus in Honduras, 5 in Nicaragua, 2 in Guatemala, and 10 in Belize. And we have, I believe, 6 that identify themselves as Garifuna in St. Vincent. How do you
Oh wow,
how do
that's
you think
nice.
we could connect all these folks together?
We need a government. We need a government that will fight for the common interest of everybody. The only thing that we could do, that is the missing
Right,
link, because we already have with culture, which is the link that has held us together forever.
right.
But we need a government. The government is the little dot where everybody will connect to.
So you don't think if we started showing our cultural philosophy um, by way of the religious side, which is called Ogulendo, which I'm currently exploring, I'm learning more and more about it. Do you think if we was to start showing that, would that bring us together in these different nations? Because remember, it's everything is psychological. We have to get into the people's minds first before they could take action. And I think if we
Okay.
started with
All right.
Ogulendo, that's could be a way to go in order to get to take that action, and so we could create this social economy amongst ourselves. Now, I want to read a comment by Luz Solis. Thank you for commenting, Luz. Garifuna, this is her commentary, and I quote: Garifuna people need to claim autonomy in the different countries where they live, now, which is true. Which is true. We're a nation within a nation.
Yes,
We was just talking about that, Luz. I mean, what are the steps in doing that? That's where we're trying to find.
exactly.
It's we need. I don't think the organizations that we have are looking at from that standpoint. They're just doing community work for their local communities, but they're not thinking on a real macro level. They're not thinking about it at a real macro level. What's up, brother Joseph? We have to do a Facebook Live with you as well pretty soon. Petty Taisla Norales, Mabuego. How you doing, Petty? ¿Cómo está usted? The conversation we need to start. We could start at Facebook Live, but then we have to actually meet. But this is a great starting point because this is a conversation that a lot of people in the Garifuna community needs to start having. We need autonomy. We need our own system. We had it before in the past. We need to rebuild those things again in these countries that oppress us. I mean, I don't see anything but oppression in Honduras in terms of us and how the government deals with us and so forth. It is not a place, it's not welcoming to us. The Partido Liberal, they tolerate us, but they don't necessarily do anything of significance for us. So, from my standpoint, we have to go back to who we are. I mean, we have to re-explore who we are as Garifuna people in Central America. And I believe it starts with the spirituality. What do you think? Joe, I know you have a lot to say. I'm about to bring you on. I'm about to bring you on. And you're going to be my last guest for today because I have other things to tend to. But I would like to have a conversation with you even if it's for a couple of minutes, in regards to your input and your
I'm in
perspective.
darkness right now, however, my brother.
Okay, no problem, bro. Mabriga home, so we doing your Dangriga, Hopkins, Saint Bates.
Hi, Hawaii.
Pretty good, pretty good. So I just had
Mm-hmm.
Sister Miriam talking, and we just trying to
Mm-hmm.
make sense out of this thing that's happening in Honduras in terms of where Garifuna people fit and the plan of action that we should take. Because from what I see,
Mm-hmm.
none of the governments, the national parties, I'm not sure how it is in Honduras, but we have Belize rather, we have two party system, two major party system in Honduras, the nationalists and the liberals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the nationalists, those are the ones that are anti-Garifuna. They're, the Republicans. They're equivalent to the Republicans here in this country. And the liberals are equivalent to the
Mm-hmm.
Democrats. To my knowledge, the liberals have been more tolerant as a party than the
Mm-hmm.
nationalists. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of left in the middle as a group in Honduras
Mm-hmm.
in terms of
Mm-hmm.
any assistance from the government. I would just like to know what's your take in terms of us getting autonomy in these nations that we live in, especially in Honduras, that don't necessarily do anything for us. What would need to
Mm-hmm.
happen?
You know some.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. You know something, brother Pablo?
Right,
I think that autonomy across all the nations where we are
right.
is the way that we need to go as a people, and I think that that will take extraordinary cooperation and extraordinary support of one another.
Right. How do we evoke that?
Something that,
How do we start that?
well, you know something, I think that our Garifano, Garifunanes,
Hmm.
actually is a good starting point.
Right,
Unfortunately, in many of the nations where we have been split asunder by the two major parties of those nations
right,
of which you speak.
right.
I know that's very true for Belize. That's very true.
And that's an unfortunate
So,
thing because politics
mhm,
doesn't have any room for us as a people because we're by nature socialists. We help each other. We are a
exactly,
community. So the
exactly.
two-party
Yeah,
system
yeah,
divides us. And
that's
from what I
correct.
hear, and I was having a conversation from a brother with a
That's
brother
correct.
from Honduras, and he's telling me that there's Garifuna people in Honduras that assassinate each other over this.
Yeah, that's some sad thing, and I heard of that too, and it's so sad
Right,
because we allow ourselves to be split asunder for the to strengthen other parties and to weaken ourselves.
right,
And we are a nation.
exactly.
If there's one thing that I would like to see us have is a role in the UN, as Palestine does. Palestine is not a full nation state, but they're afforded all the respect of a nation state by the United Nations.
Okay,
And I think Garinagu are the same way. To
right,
role in the UN so that we can also have a say in our own determination through international standards. But our people must get used to this idea. Somewhere along the line, Brother Pablo, we
right,
went from being fighters against the British to adjusting to Central America. Now, when we first adjusted, we brought all those systems with us from Uruming and we
right,
adopted them. But somewhere along the line, we started to lose them.
right,
And I know in Belize, in particular, I can say, we started to lose our Garifuna systems when the government brought their land tenure systems to our territory. And we have not recovered from that system since then. What the government did was to give major corporations our land without involving us at all.
Okay.
Where we had a system of sharing the land previously, now we had to have a piece of paper from the government that tell us the land we had lived on for hundreds of years
Right.
is now yours. And if you didn't have it, the government would have the right to give away a title to the land that your family had occupied
Okay, so
for
that's
hundreds of years.
privatization. They privatize the land.
It's a privatization, yes. And what that did was it then prevented us from using our own land tenure under the Garifuna system. When Garifuna came to Belize, I'm sure they had a system, and I think brother Felix Miranda has spoken about it, where they would let them know what land they can use to farm. Now, Pablo, in Belize in particular, when they came, the Garifuna immediately became very useful to the colony. Well, it wasn't even a colony; it was a territory, and the territory did not include the Stan Creek nor the Toledo district. Those, according to a treaty with Spain and England, were the area they called Terra Nullius.
Terra Nullius.
Or no man's, Terra Nullius, no man's land. But no man doesn't mean we weren't there. We were there. They meant no European owned it, I'm sure.
Okay.
Because we were there. The Zambo mosquitoes were there, and the Maya Indians were there. We were all there. So Garifuna, for some reason, they were the ones who started trade. They farmed and they took their excess and they sold it to the colony, to the territory up north, meaning Belize to Orange Walk, which borders Mexico at the Rio Hondo. So the Garifuna became immediately important source of providing nutrient cheap to the settlers and to their slaves. Prior to that, I'm sure they had to have food imported from England and whatever other raw material they could find in the area. So Garifuna also, I have evidence where Garifuna also escorted British who were going by the Caribbean Sea to south towards Honduras.
Right.
Along with the Mosquito Indians.
Right.
So what that narrative tells me is there was a relationship between the Mosquito, the Garifuna, and the British.
Right.
It was a working relationship.
I think the Mosquito and the Garifuna are the same people. Somehow they just lost the language because their history mirrors ours. When I researched their history, it says shipwreck 1635.
Shipwreck, right. Mm-hmm.
And the British, they control a lot of the islands off the coast of Central America. So they were trafficking people.
It's funny, yeah. We were a friend of mine and myself were looking at that issue of the Zambo mosquitoes. But yes, our origins mirror quite a bit. Now, what we are looking at in terms of the origin, Brother Pablo, is that the narrative is the same. What that tells us is that the Europeans had to make sure that the blacks here, they were able to take their land under the Pope's, the papal bull, which said that they take as slaves any heathen that they found. So by saying we're heathens, they would be able to take our land.
Yeah, that's the same language that they use in St. Vincent. They call us savages, devil worshippers.
Yes.
They call us everything under the sun to justify taking our land. But let me interrupt you for a second. I have Brother Wellington here. He's talking through Luz, and he has a commentary.
Right.
I want to read his commentary because I
go
think
right ahead,
it's pretty important. And I quote, "Good evening, Pablo. This is Wellington Ramos. Culture and the religion are inseparable. The religion is the essence of the culture. If we do not practice our religion, we are going to lose our culture. I have nothing to protect us. I will have nothing to protect us if we look at history and the colonization of people, religion was one of the first things that the Europeans destroyed. Right. I mean, they studied us, and I see it happening
Absolutely.
in Africa, in which they first go with the Bible and then with the gun in the back, and if you don't adhere to the religion, it's not going to end well, and that's been happening for centuries. But I think our history shows the resilience of our people in terms of us keeping a lot of our cultural customs intact throughout all these nations. And then the biggest part is the language. We still have a language that a lot of indigenous people do not have it, or they don't practice, or don't know anything about. So that separates us from a
You
lot of
know,
groups, and it's very important. I
you
mean,
know,
this point of spirituality, I think we need to start exploring that and have conversations about it and start organizing ourselves.
right. I have,
Growing the
and
spirituality.
I encourage them to form some kind of organization and organize, and they need to take more part in the lives and the families of Garinagu,
Right.
because all cultures are bound in spirituality.
Right.
Um, but I hope that they do eventually organize the Buye,
Right.
because they're the cornerstone of our culture.
It's interesting that you say the Buye because I was talking to a brother from the Taino community, and he indicated to me that anything that happens in a Taino community, they go to the Buyes first. Like if there's war, if there's some type of quarrel, they
Right.
summon the Buye first, and then
Hmm.
they'll work on the issue, or they'll handle the issue through that. So I believe the spirituality does play a role, and I'm
Well,
just trying to see
let's
how we
look
could
at
go back to that as a community.
right, exactly. Let's look at George Bush in the Desert Storm action or war,
Right.
where he came on television and said he spoke to his pastor, who was Reverend Billy Graham,
Right.
and he said he's at peace with the decision that he made to go to war. So religion played a role,
Right. Right. It's
and
to use as
in when the
justification.
Garifuna, right, I'm sure in the days of Chatouille, they too did their religious. Um, they consulted religion before going to war.
Right.
So we wouldn't be any different from any culture on the face of the earth. The Japanese consult their religion, whether it was samurai or whether they were in World War II. They consulted their religion. I think it's Shinto also. So it wouldn't be anything strange for Garinagu to do the same. But Brother Pablo, back to the conversation. So as the Garinagu, they settled in Belize and they became very useful.
Right.
And they had a relationship with the established territory, which was not a colony, it was a territory that they were given permission in a treaty with Spain to log. And the relationship with the Garinagu gave them, I think, some leverage when it became time to draw the official Belize map, which wasn't until 1859
Okay.
the Belize map was agreed to.
1859, and from my understanding, from my research, we started arriving then in 1802.
Yeah, and probably before that.
Okay.
The case study, the actual case study I have for the Garifuna land rights case says 1799 is the first acknowledgement that they could find. But I believe that there are acknowledgments that we just haven't found yet prior to 1799.
Okay.
And probably the same year we arrived in Central America, we were probably already in Belize. So Garinagu then were instrumental in Belize's map, the way it looks today, in my interpretation of history,
Right.
Without the Garinagu presence, Belize would not look the way it looks today.
And you're referring to the geography of the country.
To the geography of the country,
Okay.
yes. But the geography, where the Garinagu were situated, it gave the British a reason to administer that geography. So the British started to record our births, our deaths, our coming, our going, and they could say, "Hey, we practically run the land because of us,"
Right.
because they were recording our comings, our goings, our deaths, our births, etc., and so on. And that gave them quite a bit of leverage in 1859, I would think, uh, when they were solidifying the map of Belize. And like I said, if it weren't for Garinagu, I don't think Belize would look the way it does today. I don't think so.
I'm very curious about Belize and how the government has helped the Garinagu over there. I know that we have the holiday through the efforts of TV Ramos. I mean, from my understanding, he met the Queen and he went to England. I'm not sure if he was knighted or not, but the English Queen did recognize him as a black carrot, from my understanding, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Now, Pablo, the 19th celebrates, or I think the issue with the 19th is the celebration of the 1832 Alejo Beni crowd that came,
Right.
because I think they were running away from persecution. And it was good for them to come, and when they came, family was already. That was not when Dangriga was formed. Dangriga was already there. They came to family. So there we celebrate their arrival. However, the 19th is a celebration really of the arrival of Garinagu, which was in 1799.
Okay.
Recently, I had a Facebook post where I had to correct some of the thinking, the erroneous thinking of Belizeans,
Right.
that Garinagu were
I did
only
make a comment.
refugees.
I made a comment on that post as
Yeah,
well.
they
And
say, yeah, they
I
said
asked the
Garinagu
people
were
to show their
refugees.
references. Because I want to read the books
Right.
that they're reading, and they couldn't produce any references of that history.
But yeah, they are correct. That is what is taught in Belize, Pablo, that Garinagu are refugees to Belize.
Okay.
But if we look at the date, 1832, it was not a part of Belize.
Okay.
Dangriga, Stan Creek, and they were not a part of Belize. They weren't. They weren't a part of British Honduras. So if they weren't a part of British Honduras, it doesn't matter who came there. They're not refugees to British Honduras because it wasn't a part of British Honduras
Right.
at the time. They had intent, they had this, but they also had a treaty with Spain where it was still, I believe, terra nullius, and the Spaniards finally gave them permission to start to log, I am told, after some time. But to say they are refugees to Belize is legally erroneous, it's morally erroneous, because it was not a part of Belize at the time.
Yeah, that's the same language
So
that
the
the
history
Honduran
is
government
wrong.
used. The Honduran lawyers used in one of the court cases that Ofrané fought, that we were refugees
Hmm.
to Honduras, which is totally untrue.
Hmm. Exactly, we weren't refugees.
Right.
We were definitely not refugees. And that kind of narrative is why the population doesn't have respect for you.
Right.
So the individual wondered, why are we celebrating refugees? Since when are refugees worthy of celebration? And so I had to break it down to the person, about why the Garinagu need to be celebrated. Because one, if it weren't for Garinagu, Belize would not be Belize the way it is today.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, when we came, we were very productive, and we continue to be productive. We were a force in all of the labor movements. We were a force in fact, it was Garifuna, Nat Cacho, who identified the new capital of Belize. And he was never given credit, publicly or any other way. But it was he who found the site where we now have Belmopan, our nation's new capital. The old capital of Belize was destroyed in Hurricane Hattie in 61, I believe. I don't know.
Okay.
Egbert, you might be able to correct me. You guys are on. I believe it was 61 Hurricane Hattie, but it destroyed
Okay.
basically the nation. So they knew they had to have a capital that would be protected from the elements. And Pat Cacho, he was not Cacho was the one who was in charge of the committee that identified this area. And George Price never gave him credit. And our people, Pablo, in Belize, we revere George Price as a god.
Now,
It
George,
seems. Let me
George,
put that.
so George Price, he was the president or the prime minister that got the
He was the first prime
independence.
minister of Belize. Yeah, basically from 62, when we first became self-governing in 62. He was premier, what's called a premier, because we didn't have independence.
Okay.
All the way until 1981, he was the premier of Belize. In 1981, he became the first prime minister of Belize with independence. And the Garifuna people revere him. He has his moments that he, did some unsavory things, I think, with Garinagu. But we need to, the most important thing that, a friend and I, we discuss is that our history, we need to tell people our glorious history.
Right.
We need to tell people, we were not just refugees. We never begged for anything. In fact, we were very productive. We fed people in the Caribbean, and we fed people here on this side of the world with our great agricultural skills.
Okay.
So when the land tenure systems came about with the British government to the area, that was the beginning of the downfall of Garinagu, right there. I have been able to pinpoint through my research that was the beginning of the downfall, when we were no longer able to control our lands, and in fact, our lands were taken from us and given to corporations and major donors to political parties. Once you lose the land, your culture is in danger.
Right. Right. We understand that very well in Honduras.
It's in danger.
We understand that very well. I don't see of any other mechanism of controlling our own land unless we become sovereign and autonomous in these nations. I mean, I just don't see it. They're not going to allow us. I mean,
Correct.
I had a sister that I was talking to earlier, Miram, and she indicated that one of the routes that we could take in Honduras will be the military route, arming ourselves and basically, go that way, which I don't think it's not unrealistic, but a lot of people are thinking the same thing as well. And I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Something, I do not think that we need to go that route. Unless we as a nation, as one nation, under one Garifuna nation,
Right.
work together and internationalize the Honduran situation consistently, we do not need to go that route, because I only see loss.
Right.
If you have a population in Honduras of 5 million people, and Garinagu represent about 1 million.
Right.
Not even odds. They're not even odds. And I think that we can get political force and pressure to be effective. But our leaders cannot work in a vacuum. They must consult the people.
Right. Right. We have to be
And
transparent.
that's a big problem that we're having in Belize. The leadership refuse to talk to the people they lead. They refuse. This is something I don't understand. They lead from the top. It's like When I want to know what's good for you, I will tell you what's good for you. That's how our leadership is.
Right. That's paternalistic.
And yeah, and the thing is that when you listen to our people, Brother Pablo, you listen to the Mapensili, they're a lot brighter than the Gapensili leaders that we have.
Mm.
I listen to the Mapensili, the elders,
Right.
they're going to tell you how to do it.
Well, that's proven.
I think that.
I understand that to the T, because the generation, two generations before mine, my grandfather's generation, these people, they somehow found a way to leave Honduras. They learned English. They started working with the Standard Fruit Company, and then they made their way over to the United States. And then people like my grandfather and other members of the other elders, male elders from Agua, they helped each other come to this country. And then my grandfather, he helped people get jobs as merchant marines. And then, we built a little community here in the Bronx back in the 1950s. And it's all from working with each other. It wasn't, we didn't go look for any handouts or anything. And they had less education, which is the most confusing part than what we have now. I mean, now we have Garifuna people,
Right.
doctorates, masters, all these advanced degrees, but they lost that Garifuna Dual.
And they don't contribute.
Exactly. They lost the Garifuna Dual. They lost the Garifuna Dual. So I think what we need to do is go back to that. And it starts, I honestly believe it starts with the conversations that we're having now, because we have 6 communities in St. Vincent who identify with the Garifuna culture. We have 5 in Nicaragua. We have 50 plus in Honduras. We got 2 in Guatemala. We have 10 in Belize. There has to be a way for all of us to create a network within each other, a socio-economic network that will benefit all of us. Via the culture, we have we have cassava producers in Honduras. In my community, we have a lot of cattle, and all the different communities have their competitive advantage. We have to employ those.
Brother Pablo, this year, it's funny that you said that, because we're thinking in the same line, man. I had planned this coming year that I would call the intellectuals to come and contribute. I would concentrate on calling them to contribute something to the health, the recovery of their people.
Right.
There are many intellectuals, and I'm sure that they realize they got their discipline, their willingness to learn from their people. I'm sure they realize that. And I honestly do not think it will be hard to convince the intellectuals to start to give back something of their talents that they acquired. I don't think it's going to be hard, Pablo. I think yes, we should call them to action. Many of us, as you know, are struggling to put together something within the Western systems of corporation.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We have to do it. We have to do it through our own mechanisms.
No, the point.
Via the cultural philosophy that I was referring to earlier.
No. We're not doing something in terms of just the Western. We just need to have something that we can put upon our systems, and or where we have the space to use our systems. That's what we're preparing for. And once we prepare, we will need the sociologists, the psychologists, the social sciences. We will need the engineers to look at our land and see how best we can preserve the land. We will need their help. And so that's the reason why I was thinking this year, I need to call the intellectuals back to come and contribute. And I would be very happy if we all as a nation can put out a call to our intellectuals and tell them we need them.
I think it starts by us having these type of conversations in which we really critically trying to make sense of our existence and analyzing our current existence and find the different mechanisms that we could employ to live the way our ancestors lived in the past. You know,
Hmm.
it starts with the social economics. That's where it starts.
Right.
We have to create those
Hmm.
mechanisms ourselves. We have to get back to self-determination. You know, we have to go back to
Hmm.
being prideful of our culture, employ
Hmm.
our religion or spiritual system.
Now, okay, Pablo, then, and I totally agree with that, but I can tell you specifically in Belize, our leaders have a problem in that they no longer depend on us. They now depend on political parties to do everything for them. And then they, in turn, will try to do for the people. But the problem has become that the political parties only use Garinagu for votes, even our representatives, because as you know, in Belize you have representatives from the south who are voted by Garinagu,
Right.
but those representatives they they act only as a vote for their party, not for Garinagu.
Okay.
And this is something that we continue to do time and time again. And our leaders, our leaders, they expect our people to vote certain parties without expecting anything in return for us, for the votes. Nothing. I think Brother Michael Flores just wrote something to that effect that I read just before I started to watch your show.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knows for sure the same thing I am telling you, which is that we give everything and we get back nothing.
Right.
One of the problems I think that I've seen in the past is that we didn't know the systems. So even if you vote us into office, we don't know what to do. So we depend on the leaders of the political party to show us what to do.
Right.
But guess what? It never happened. They never really showed our people what to do. And the investments in the South, the projects, you can, if you have a budget of $1 billion, if you have a project in Belize for $5 million, you're lucky. In Stan Creek or Toledo, you're lucky. You're lucky. Everyone else gets and everyone else benefits except the South, and the South says nothing. Now, our leadership is very interesting because if you go against them, they won't fight the system as you are saying to them. You say to the leader, fight the system. They're doing us wrong. The leaders will say, you are trouble, not the system.
Mm.
That's
That's
how it works in Belize.
that's
It's really
interesting.
odd. It's really, really strange. Yeah. And they will assassinate your character, the Garifuna. They will come and pick on you and they will fight you. They won't fight the system that's oppressing 20,000 Garinago. But that's the way it is, my brother. And that's the uphill battle, I think, that people like Gary Vision, Francois Estrada, Bill Flores, Varlene Arzu, myself, and many others are trying to bring attention to, educate the people about the system. When we tell the leaders of Belize, Brother Pablo, we tell them, get our land rights. Let's get the title to our land.
Right.
Without a problem through the courts, it's Belize. There is nothing that will stop us. When we tell that to our leaders tell us that's what they tell us. Our leaders say we don't want land rights.
Okay. Now, how come the people don't pressure the leaders? I mean, it's civic participation is a science of itself. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can't force people to participate in civic matters, which the politics. I mean, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, especially our Garifuna people, don't have a lot of patience to deal with
Mm-hmm.
politics, and I just
Mm-hmm.
think that we need to engage in politics gingerly. We gotta be very careful because if we don't
Mm-hmm.
support people that brings us resources, I mean, what are we really doing? I mean, why are we really engaging in the politics if they're not going to bring resources to the community and we're not going to hold them accountable if they don't bring resources to the community? So it's a science, and we have to teach our people this science and everything that goes in from that revolves it rather.
Okay, but you recall, I said earlier, and you called it paternalistic leading. Our leaders don't consult us, so they don't teach us. You know, during the landmark Maya land rights case, Brother Pablo,
Yes, I was
I
researching that
kept
as well.
I was urging the Garifuna, the National Garifuna Council, to please support them, get involved, support them, be a part of it. They outright refused. They wanted nothing to do with it. And they never consulted the Garifuna people to ask them, what do you want to do?
Right.
Never, ever, ever, not once. And, you know, they are more than welcome to correct me publicly if that's not correct. I've said that for years. They have not corrected me to date. So I take it what I'm saying is true. And the people who are supposed to learn from the leaders what their options are. If I'm a leader, Pablo, I will have a meeting and I will tell everyone, these are our options. And I will explain to them the advantages and disadvantages of options, right? So this way, our people can make informed decisions. At least communicate. Try to communicate. Teach the people the options of communal land rights and what the power behind communal land rights or collective land rights as an indigenous people. They have never done it. They had, in about 10, 15 years, one single meeting. One. And the meeting, as far as I'm concerned, served one purpose, and that's to be symbolic. That is, they can now, they know that I've been putting pressure on them to do something. Now they say, well, we had a meeting and we explained to the people this, and nothing since then. Nothing since then. So I call it a symbolic meeting. It means nothing. There's no substance to it. No follow-up.
And what do you think? Why are they reacting in that manner? Or what do you think is the mindset? What do you think the psychological mindset for them to react like that?
I'm not sure that it's a psychological mindset. I do wonder if doing things the right way for the collective would put them, the leaders, at a disadvantage somehow. So there's cause and effect, right? There must be a reason why the leaders do not want land rights. There must be a reason why. Now, that reason, if you find out and correct it, you'll probably correct the situation.
See, this is the issue that we have in Honduras as well in regards to the patronatos selling the lands, our ancestral lands, to these private corporations and private investors. And they're doing it, again, we have to go back to the socioeconomic rationale of the country and the state of affairs. I mean, everybody needs money to live, but I think we don't understand how to handle money in terms of investing it and using it to work for us. We need, I believe we need a symposium that addresses that as well. Because again, like I was telling you, in St. Vincent, there's a lot of people that identify with Garifuna, Central America. We have the largest population here, and I don't think we understand, first of all, our spirituality and how it affects our lives in terms of how we live. The spiritual system needs to be reintroduced, or else we're going to continue having these type of issues in our communities.
I think, something, Brother Pablo, I think that we do need some training in how to maintain an economy again. We used to do it at one point, and it was destroyed at the war and the exile, our economy was completely destroyed. Our way of life was destroyed. And those are the damages that I think we need reparation for.
Right.
But today,
Well, reparations, that's
I
another
think that,
topic that we have to challenge
yeah,
at
that's a
another day
whole nother topic.
because
Right.
we deserve reparations from the Spanish, the English,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and to a small degree from America as well.
The French as well.
Right.
The French betrayed us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And,
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I think that um, in terms of the economy, I often hear those in the National Garifuna Council of Belize, those who would dare talk to me, that they have no plan to do anything with the land. So they actually say this, Pablo. Why should we get the land? Because we have nothing to do with it. We don't have any plan. We can't do anything with it. We don't have any money or anything, etc. And that's when I know for a fact they've forgotten who they are. Let me tell you why. And by the way, the British told us the same thing in Urume before they took our land, if you recall. We weren't using it. It's just sitting there. Is it just sitting there? Let's look at our culture. Is it just sitting there? No, it's not just sitting there. We need the land as virgin land because we hunt there. We get our supplies from the forest, from the untouched forest. We get our supplies from there. We get our medicine from there. We do a lot of things with it. It's being used.
Right.
Just not the way you want it used.
Right.
Just not the way the Gapensuli are being taught it should be used.
Right.
You see what I'm saying, Brother Pablo? The land is fine the way it is. People need firewood. People go hunt. We used to go crabbing. We used to do all kinds of things. We used to hunt animals. We used it, of course, for agriculture. We used it for material to build houses.
Yes.
Yeah, we used it for everything in the cassava baking process. We used to use the land.
Right.
Everything. And a lot more. I think, you needed they used to make the uguro out of material from the forest, right? That viney looking material.
Right.
So when we say the land is, we ourselves then have become kind of like Lynch, the Lynch effect. So we have now learned their system and we are perpetuating it among ourselves. Our leaders will say this without even knowing the impact of what they're saying. What do you mean we won't get land because we don't have any plans and we don't have any money for it? What kind of rubbish is that?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
What is that? But I've actually heard people in the leadership position say this to me. They actually have. I haven't called them out on it, and I won't call their names because I find it most embarrassing, man.
Right.
That is very embarrassing for a leader to say.
See, that's the thing.
And right now, there are Garinagu in Dangriga who don't have a place to build their house, and they're saying we don't need land. Yes, that's what they're saying. They're saying Garifuna don't want to be away from the government of Belize. They don't want autonomy. They like being part of the government. They want a town council there. They don't want a Garifuna council. They want a town council. They have never asked the people what they want. Never. So, as I said, when I want to know what's good for you, I'll tell you. That's the philosophy that drives the National Garifuna Council.
Yeah, but that philosophy doesn't work in this time, actually. I mean, we have to understand that the warfare against us is spiritual, is economic, is cultural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have to find different ways to counter all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like I said, this conversation, I mean, I'm learning a lot from it, and I hope other people that are watching are also learning, which I think they should also share. They should share this conversation so other people could watch, because I think we need a serious dialogue in terms of how we view ourselves and how we work with with all these things that's happening around us. I mean, the politics, like I mentioned earlier, we don't need to be engaged in politics at all. It doesn't benefit us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Well, you know something, Brother Pablo, in Belize, it's an art how to screw yourself as an indigenous people is an art perfected by Garinagu. Because you and I could go and have a talk with our leaders and say all these things. Before they do anything, however, to change it, they have to consult the political parties, which is exactly what we were telling them not to do.
Right.
It's an art, man. They've perfected it. We have so many traitors within the Garifuna community back home in Belize. They are an embarrassment, I think, to the collective.
Yes, same thing in Honduras. Same exact thing.
But they're our leaders, bro. We have to try and work something to change their thinking, to change their narrative, and to put Garifuna first. But they put political party first because the political party, upon winning, they're supposed to do a favor for the leaders and do something for Garifuna people. But we don't have to wait for that. We can get our land title, control the land, and you don't need the permission of the politicians to do anything once you control your land.
Okay.
You don't need their permission. You can do what you need to do to make money or to raise funding as an indigenous people on your land. We don't need their permission to have deals with the cruise ship tourism industry if that's what we wanted. We don't need their permission to put up an airport. We don't need their permission for a lot of things.
Now, I'm reading the commentary over here. I'm not sure if you could see the commentary, but there was a gentleman, Baba Samuel.
Yes.
How you doing, Baba? Thanks for your comment. He says, and I quote, Amish control your land, and Chinese and recent East Indian also. Now, is that true?
That is a disgusting truth in Dangriga. In Dangriga, let me tell you something, Pablo. The most expensive real estate, some of the most expensive on the main street, right? The main street is always very expensive real estate.
Right, because it's close to the shops.
They were basically owned by my family. Right. That's where all the stores are, and that's where the nightlife is.
Right.
They were basically owned by my family, and one by one, everything was sold out to foreigners, man. Everything was sold out, dude. I think you can probably count the number of Garifuna who still own land on the main.
And this is Dangriga we're talking about, the cultural capital.
It's just a fact.
It's interesting. That's an eye-opener.
Yes, the cultural capital, correct.
This is an eye-opener for me.
Yeah. I can't... I won't hold back anything from you, my brother. We have to let everything out. I believe in letting out the truth, and that's the only way we're going to fix it, when we face the truth, the facts. You know what I'm saying, bro? We have to face
I agree. I mean, we have to, as I mentioned before, I mean, these conversations are tough. I mean, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But for us to exist as a society, as an indigenous society, and keep our culture and our customs, we need to have these conversations, these very tough conversations. I'm dying to talk to someone from Guatemala and to get their perspective on how they view themselves and how the country treats them and so forth. I already have a brother.
I'd like to hear what's happening with them as well, from them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've read something or two, but I would love to hear from them what's happening there.
Because they're part of a multi-ethnic society as well. I just want to know what resources they got from Guatemala. Do they get any, substantive resources for supporting the political party, or how exactly does that mechanism work over there? Because I don't know. I want to know. And Nicaragua, it seems that that's the only safe place for us to live, because they don't have repression. And someone was telling me that in Nicaragua, Manuel Ortega, he stayed in Orinoco when they was going to the fight. So he's very loyal to the Garifuna community over there in Orinoco.
Is that right?
Yes. See, these are the type of things that we need to share amongst each other so we could continue to organize, because maybe through him, through the Nicaraguan government, if something happens to us in Honduras, we could go over there. We have a place to go in Nicaragua. Because the way that I see things in Honduras right now is very, I don't want to say dire, but it's not going towards a favorable way for us in terms of the land issues that we're having and all the other issues that surround that as well.
Well, this is why, Pablo, we need to work with each other and not independent of each other. I've heard some expressions out of some Ofrane people
Right.
who say we don't need to be one organization. We can just help each other.
Well, that's true to
We
a
don't,
degree. That's true to a degree.
we don't need to be one nation, or et cetera, and so on. I say we do need to be a nation, and we need to address every Garifuna community issues under that umbrella,
Right.
or be their backup, at least be their international backup.
Right. I mean, let me tell you, brother Joe. I mean, it's never going to be a utopia amongst us. I mean, again, we have to go back our commonality. And to offer his defense, I mean, they have been doing this fight since the 70s from my research. So if we're going to approach an organization like Ofrane, we have to dot our I's, cross our T's. You know, we have to approach them in a manner that is respectful, for one, and show them that we're serious. We have to be organized before approaching them, because that's the way that they operate. And of course, I want all of us to work together, because as a group, we're stronger. We can, to a degree, we could make strides, but we make bigger strides together as a group, and that includes not just Honduras. That includes the brothers and sisters in Belize, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and St. Vincent, because we need their input as well.
I agree. Well, you know, yeah, I gotta run. I hope that you continue your conversations. There are lots of people out there, I think, who have very good views. I think Professor Egbert Eugenio has good views.
Right.
The guys at Garavision, Bill Flores and Estrada and Varlene Arzu, in terms of, you know, the Belizean perspective, you know.
Right.
Those are people and Michael Flores, man. You got to do an interview with Michael Flores, man. I would love to hear the brother's thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean,
Brother Michael Flores.
Let's make this the platform for it, because I know we have conversations on
Perfect.
Facebook. I mean, a lot of people, you know, through scheduling and time, we could make this the platform in which, you know, every week or every couple of days we'll have these conversations and we discuss the issues that's affecting us as a community in Central America, and from the and in St. Vincent and Nicaragua and Belize and Honduras, of course. I mean, the thing that's happening in Honduras, that was the motivation behind me doing these Facebook live streams, because the conversation has to start somewhere.
Right. And I think this is a good place for it. It's cost effective. That's number one. And, you know, it's available to everyone. Hey, you can't get it better than that, brother.
Right. We just need people that, you know, to have a strong internet connection. At least 4G.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, bro, I know you have to go.
Okay.
Thank you for being on with me and sharing your thoughts and your perspective. I really appreciate it. And I think
it's a pleasure,
again,
man. Thank you.
have to continue these conversations.
I agree. Yeah, I'll be looking out for more from you, Pablo. Do it, bro.
Okay. We'll do.
Okay, peace.
All right, everybody. I'm going to sign off at this point. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the commentary. I'm going to reply to them after I get off. But Brother Egbert, I'm curious to know your thoughts and perspective. I'm going to inbox you to see when we could talk. And I'm curious to hear about Samuel Singletary and Don Angel Guiti's perspective. And Luz, you as well. I would like us to have a talk about Garifuna spirituality, because there's a lot of people that never heard of it or don't know anything about it, or really have questions in terms of what it is and how we used it before in the past. I think you could help us shed some light on that. But How you doing, Mirtha? Nice to see you on board. But yeah, I think we have to start these conversations. We are an ethnic group in the Central American nations, but we're not part of those societies. I mean, if anyone could prove me wrong, please do show me where we're listed in the Constitution as an ethnic group, and show me the resources that were given to our community, or how we have fought for those resources. I just want to see some type of development. I mean, we've been there for 200 plus years. I just want to see us in par to the dominant society. Show me what these nations have done on our behalf to be a part of the dominant society, because I haven't seen any. I definitely want to speak to the brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and how they view and have their perspective on how they feel what Garifuna is, or what they know about Garifuna, and how they want to be involved with us in Honduras. I just want to keep the dialogue going. But until next time, we'll talk again. I'm going to announce these Facebook live streams at least a couple of hours, so it could give you guys time to settle. There will be after our times, about 8 or 9 o'clock, because I definitely want to hear your perspective. And I'll definitely, talk to you guys on inbox, and I'm going to reply back to the commentary in here. So until next time, you guys have a good night. Buiti gunyu honso Garinagu. Seremi logo hey when tido telephone le I logo wadume ani le wogut. Luti gibeti lo wafansa ani. I gayati wadume tida Facebook live. Gayati wagume se uni adume ani ido lubala wafansa ani wogut. A todos los hermanos, quiero que nosotros seguimos esta conversación. Yo creo que podemos empezar por este medio, por Facebook Live. Tengo que tener una conversación con el hermano Luis García de Sambo Creek. Me interesa saber la perspectiva de él sobre lo que nos está pasando en Honduras, y tenemos que hablar sobre las problemáticas que tenemos en las comunidades que nos afectan a nosotros. Voy a responder a los comentarios aquí en este medio cuando yo me voy, como ahorita. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Pasen buenas noches, buitiguño, y hablamos después. Seremi.